Good morning. Today we'll be talking about the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. As we are very familiar with the drugs and cosmetics, so drugs. Basically, we will talk about what are the drugs which are scheduled drugs for the manufacture of medicines, and what are the implications of those medicines or of the drugs in our daily life. And also, we have seen recently the drugs which is being used to treat the COVID 19, the malaria drug hydrochloroquine, which is one of the leading thing which is being used for the treatment in COVID 19. So it is also coming under the purview of this Drugs and Cosmetics Act. So Drugs and Cosmetics Act was first established in the year 1940 by the Department of Health under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and this came into force in the year 1947. So the Drugs and Cosmetics Act is basically from the year 1940, and this 1940 Act is quite old and has been amended though, but has not been changed till late. So, if we look into the objective of this act, so first is that to regulate the import, manufacture, distribution, and sale of drugs and cosmetic through licensing. So drugs is basically a ingredient in all the medicines. So now what medicines will have what drugs, and what are the implications of one drug has to be checked, and then only the license will be provided. So before the license is provided, one has to be very sure about what are the implication of such drugs. If the drug which is being used has a high mortality rate, that may be banned. Like some of the drugs which are banned in US, like one cannot have Disprin in US. That is a drug which has been banned by the US, but we, any case in India, we have a headache, we take up a Disprin. So there implication of that drug, that it affects the heart. So this is something which is banned by US, but it has not been banned by India till now. So manufacture, distribution, and sale of drugs and cosmetics by qualified persons only. So you will be knowing this fact, that even if you have a medical shop, you should have a person with a degree of B Pharma who needs to be present in the shop. Though we don't have such people in the shop, but anyone and everyone can do it. But there is a person who is a B Pharma is kept behind the scene, and he is signing on or getting the license of that particular medical shop on his degree. So this is one of the things that is there. Third, to prevent substandard in drug, presumably for maintaining high standard of medical treatment. So many a times what we have seen is there are drugs which are being used, sub quality drugs. Now what we see in the drugs manufacturing industry is that there is something called reverse engineering, and many companies have same product with different name. So if you go for, say, cold and flu drug, so there are maybe different types of drugs which will be available. So one is the generic thing, which we are not talking about the generic thing, but we have the companies, and one company is not only manufacturing the product for cold and flu. There can be numerous companies. So now that numerous companies can have different standards. So now for every company which has been given license by the government should be involved in the best practice, and it should not be in an inferior manner. So the drugs which are being used should not be in a substandard manner. To regulate the manufacture of Ayurvedic, Siddha, and Unani drugs. So these are also drugs which are part of the government initiatives, and they are also being monitored. They are also being checked. It's not like that they are not being checked. They are also have to pass the quality checks and other things. To establish drug technical advisory board and drug consultative committee for allopathic and allied drugs and cosmetics. So everything we see, the drugs which we see, that has to maintain a certain quality, and if the certain quality is not maintained, it will not be fit for use. They may be rejected, and whole lot of the drugs which has been manufactured will be rejected. So now what we have seen, that there are clinical trials on human beings for developing the antidote for COVID-19. So now they are the drugs which are being used. They have to see whether what is the implication, what are the long term implication, there are the side effects or not, whether the drug is good or not, whether drugs will have the cure or not, will it be successful or not. Then only we will see that the drugs has been developed. Now this drug will be licensed to one of the companies, and then the companies will start the manufacturing. So now we are only in the stages of the drug development of the drug. So this drug has to be first pass all the necessary ingredient of the clinical trials on humans. Only then that will be used. Similarly in cosmetics also, there are certain cosmetics which is used for certain things, and they have been said that they contain some of the things which may not be fit for human consumption or human use. So it has also to be clinically tried, and then only it can be brought into the market. So drugs is also one of the essential features of the Essential Commodities Act, and these drugs will have what has been mentioned are the seven most important essential commodities is also drugs which has been mentioned essential commodities, and the implication will be the same, or the meaning of the drugs which has been mentioned is same what it has been mentioned under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. So there are some of the salient features of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Maximum penalty life imprisonment, fine of rupees 10 lakh or three times the value of confiscated goods, whichever is more. So the maximum penalty which can be provided under this Drugs and Cosmetic Act is rupees 10 lakh or the three times the value of the confiscated good, which is more. So if the confiscated good is for 10 lakh, and it's so 30 lakhs can be the maximum penalty. Beside officers from Drug Controller's Office, other gazettes are also authorized to launch prosecution under this act. So not only the Drug Controller Office, but any person who is involved in a gazetted servant can start the launch the prosecution. Some of the offences cognizable and non-bailable, so you better know what is a cognizable and non-bailable offences. Special designated court for trial, again we have seen that there is a provision which has been there for the Drugs and Cosmetics Act that there should be a special court, but we don't have yet the special courts for trying the offenders of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Provision of compounding of minor offenses. So if there is a minor offense, then there's a provision of compounding the offense, that they can get into a compromise with the government also, if that is not life endangering or something very utmostly inhuman nature. Definition of drug is that all medicines for external and internal use of human beings, animals, substance intended for only for the diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, or prevention of any other disease. Now, these are the things which has been mentioned, that the intended use of the drug, including capsule, any form of medicine, has to be according to the requirement. So if it is an animal, so it is, you have to look at the purview of the animal. If it is a human, it has to be looked into the purview of the human. What are the side effects, what are the long term effects, what are the other complication which may have to be developed, which has to be taken into consideration, and then only we can develop that drug which is fit for the human consumption or the consumption of certain animals. So that is, we have to check whether these things are actually in the benefit of the people or the animals, as the case may be. As defined in the Act, cosmetic includes any article which intended to be rubbed, poured, sprinkled, sprayed on, introduced. Also, a part which is for cleansing, beautifying, promoting attractiveness, altering the appearances, includes any particle intended for the use as a component of cosmetic. Now, These include the medicinal as well as all the cosmetic products. So now the cosmetic products have wide range for cleansing, beautifying, but it has also to be seen that there are certain precautions which has been mentioned. Many a times what we have seen, there are products which after the use uh, causes allergy to a specific skin. So now that has to be mentioned in that product. If that product is generally bad for the human skin, then it should be banned. But if it is only for a particular person who is allergic, then the person who is allergic has to take that precaution, because in general it is not a thing which is bad for the humans. But if that person is allergic, the allergic person is to be careful while dealing with these cosmetics. Also, the human trials of these cosmetics has also to be taken into consideration, and only these after the successful completion of the human trials, then the product can be launched. Now, some of the things which we see that whether they are effective or not, when we say beautifying, now that beautifying, whether a person becomes beautiful or not, it is quite a controversial question and we cannot answer it. And when we say about the fairness creams, do we actually increase the fairness of the person if that product is applied? So it's thus says that the melanin content, when the melanin content gets less, the person appears to be fairer. And what the product says, that we try to compress the melanin production and appears the person to look a little fairer. But these things are again are when you are not going into that the person is not having some bad effects of these products, they can't complain. And do have complain about these fairness products, but they are not because under the cosmetics act, because but they are on other grounds. We have the drugs consultative committee. It's a advisory board by the central government, who are the two people from the central government and two from the state government are nominated. And what is the function they have to do is, to central government and the state government and the drugs technical advisory board, to ensure uniformity through the Indian administration of this act, that all the product which has been made, what are the new products which are coming up in market, to study them, to study the implication, to study the report and other things. And then the drugs committee shall require when needed, and has the power to regulate its own procedure. So the procedure can be different in different state, and the state can make a little different requirement from the center. But this whatever the law which shall be prescribed by the center, only some deviation, they cannot make deviation from the central policy, but some of the relaxation can be given, say in the penalty or the compounding of offenses. This can be given, but not on the central legislative things. Controlling authority. So all inspector appointed by the central government shall be in control of the officer appointed in this behalf by the central government or state government, because they are the officers who will be looking at the officers, inspectors will be looking into the products of the drug related issues, and also the cosmetic related issues from time to time within the state, within the district and other places. Secondly, for the purposes of these rules, an officer appointed by the central government under sub rule 1, or as the case may be, an officer under the state government shall be the controlling authority. So the controlling authority has to be distributed pan India, and that person who is the controlling authority has to take precaution by dealing with the drugs and cosmetics in the areas, in the scheduled areas where the drugs and cosmetics are being prepared, and they have been complied with the rules and regulation that has been framed from the central government and the state government from time to time, has to be seen that they are complying with those criteria. And also we have to take into consideration that that the fake medicines are not circulated, and also the quality and the other things which has to be seen, whether we have now the online platform for selling medicines. So now that online platform, whoever are selling the medicines are complying all the regulatory mechanisms of the government, and also the quality of these medicines and cosmetics has to be checked by the drug inspectors, and also the controlling officers from the state and central government. Thank you.